Hey everyone, welcome to lecture 24, I think. We're almost done. Looks like we only have these 5 classes left. I think your last day is May 12th. I think it was originally May 7th or May 5th, and then we got pushed back by that week. So if you guys have any different information, please let me know. But for now, I'm planning that this is our last day of class. So today 28th, we're going to go over some responsive web flows, just learning some more terminology that we can use there. And there's a few articles and some reading for you. And then on Thursday, we're going to do this partner usability study. And so if you sent in the partner that you want to work with, that's who you'll be with. If you haven't sent one in, I'm going to assign you one today. So I'll let you know who that's going to be. And to prepare for that, just make sure you read chapters 9 through 10 from the Krug book. That explains how we're going to actually be doing the study on Thursday. But basically, you're going to send each other your websites and give some guided feedback to each other on that. And then the rest of the class will be talking more a little bit about how to actually test and some more usability. And then this day will be a work day where I'll be online, ask all your questions about your project, and I'll answer what I can. Maybe I'll throw in some fun CSS stuff that you might be interested in. And then on the last day, we will go over these last 2 chapters. That's when your site will be due. And I'll talk a little bit about if you want to take the next step and get this on the web, how you might do that. And yeah, that'll be the last day. So let's jump into responsive web flows. Scroll down here. So by now you have all the tools that you need to start building a responsive layout. So you have that proportional thinking required to make the flexible grid. You know how to integrate fixed width media into your design, like images and videos. And you know how to use media queries and how they can allow you to have a site that works on multiple devices and multiple screen sizes. So that's pretty cool. Now we want to start incorporating this into our workflow. And you have to ask yourself, how are our sites really going to be used by our users? We have to think about the context that they're using it in. So, in addition to just the device that they're using it on. So it might be, are they using the site while they're walking on their phone? Are they on the subway? Are they inside or outside? Are they in an area where cell service might not be super great? And these are all things that are going to affect our design decisions. And then we ask ourselves, do the priorities of the user change when their context change? So do they want to see something different when they are on their phone? Should the site even look the same on their phone as on desktop? So that's just kind of questions that you need to ask yourself. It's more than responsive web design is more than just making the same website look good on all browsers. It means also putting consideration into thinking about what the user might want to access while they're on a phone versus when maybe they're on their iPad or on their computers. So maybe on the desktop version, there are a bunch of images at the top of the page that look super cool on desktop, but if you view it on a phone, you might have to scroll for a while before getting to the actual content. So, with all that said, though, on the other hand, it can be pretty difficult to know the state of the user. You don't really know what they're doing, so sometimes all we have to work with is knowing our audience, doing proper research and figuring out what our users actually want, and then through media queries, we can target that device. In 2009, a guy named Luke Robluski, I'm probably butchering that last name, but he challenged the web dev community and said we shouldn't be treating mobile experience as an afterthought, especially when there are just as many people on their phones now browsing the web as they are on their desktop computers. So he's credited with coming up with this mobile first term design mobile first design philosophy, which basically says that we should start product design from the mobile end, which has a lot more restrictions like bandwidth and data usage, that kind of stuff, and then expand to tablet and then desktop. So starting with a smaller set of features and adding to it as needed can help prevent a ton of extra bloat that we really don't need. So it's easy to add a ton of stuff like social media icons and pop-ups, and all that stuff on desktop, but when you view that on mobile, there's just not enough space for all of it. So the idea is that if you start designing from your phone and you realize that you don't really all need all of this stuff, then do you really need it on desktop? So it kind of serves as a way to really nail down exactly what the important parts of your site are, because you have to have them working on mobile. So I have this article that I'm linking to that just does, it's a pretty short article and it explains what mobile first design really is, and also goes over progressive enhancement versus graceful degradation. And so, I mean, you'll read this, but progressive enhancement is basically starting with the most basic version of a site with the minimal set of features, usually on like mobile, and then building on that. And graceful degradation starts with a fully fleshed out feature heavy site and going the other way, so hiding things on certain devices where they might not function. So definitely read that article. So how can we use mobile first in our designs? One thing is to stop thinking about desktop as being the default. So when you're using media queries, excuse me, even in the example that we had, we treated just the code that wasn't in a media query as the code that would apply to desktop. And then we added a bunch of media queries that were like max width 800 pixels, and then it would switch to a mobile friendly version of it. So this kind of switches that way of thinking and says the default stuff, the shared code, is what we want on mobile, and then the stuff in media queries is for larger and larger screens. So I have this example here. This is from Boston Globe when it was, I don't know if it's in the current website, but it was at the time of this book where I got the example from. But basically all of this stuff would be some default styling, and then here, not in a media query, would be all the stuff that works on a mobile device. And then after you have that one all looking great, then add the next width that you might want, and then maybe a bigger one, and a tablet and a desktop, and go in that direction, so you have this design from a mobile first standpoint. The point that I'm trying to get across is that responsive web design is more than just being able to make something look nice on all different browsers and devices, but it also comes down to the what your user might want to do with it. So just keep in mind some constrictions that your user might have, like if they're in rural Pennsylvania, like where I'm from, you don't want to have a super high resolution photo heavy site because you're not going to be able to see that. It'll take forever to load. Your user will probably give up on it. So just a few things to keep in mind there. So let me know if you have any questions.